Hey there, I'm going to give you a real fast little walkthrough on the step-by-step process you need to go through if you want to be successful when we do mock congressional hearings. So the first thing you need to do is you need to be able to understand the questions that you are being asked. Think about what the person who's judging you, what are they looking for when they're asking you this question. If you can understand what they're looking for, okay, what the question's asking, you're going to be able to write a better response and a better kind of rebuttal, be able to defend your question or response to that question far better. Number two, you need to understand how many questions you're actually being asked. For the most part, these questions are going to be 2 or 3 part questions. If you don't answer all parts of the question, you're really not going to be doing the full assignment on this project. So make sure you understand what questions are being asked and how the judge would like you to answer those questions. Additionally, it's important to understand what words confuse you. If you're not really unsure of what a word means, you need to look that word up because it's going to be words that you, one, are going to be using when you write your rebuttal. Number two, you're probably going to be questioned about that. If you understand what the word means, it's going to help you write a stronger rebuttal and then do better in the questioning section as well. And number four is break the question up. Don't try to swallow everything all at once. Break it up into more manageable bites and then take it from there. So take the question, figure out what the judge is looking for, how many questions are actually being asked. Make sure you fully understand what the question is asking and then break it up into more manageable pieces. Number two is diagram your response. Okay, write the questions out in bullet point form just like you see there. So if you've got a 4-part question, you want to write question 1 and then get some possible answers for question number 1. You want to write question number 2, give some possible answers for that. Question number 3, some possible answers for that. And then question number 4, some possible answers for that. If you do it this way, you're going to make sure you're answering the full question in a correct and total way versus maybe accidentally overlooking one of the questions and not getting the full stuff that you need to do in order to be successful on this. Step number 3 is be able to counter your arguments. So you need to look back at the arguments you made. So when you answered those questions with some possible arguments, how would you attack those arguments? If you could figure out how you're going to attack those arguments, you're going to be able to anticipate what your judge or the person grading you on this is probably going to ask you about that. So be able to anticipate at least one, probably 2 different counters for the arguments you wrote down, and then be able to write those attacks that you came up with against your own argument down. And when you write that down, you also want to have a rebuttal for each thing that you're thinking and wrote down, okay? So for example, if someone were to say, if you're looking at, let's just look at the American political system, for example, where did it come from, one of the founding, and you're talking about the American political system, the philosophical background was natural rights philosophy. And then someone else could argue that maybe natural rights don't actually exist. Okay, that's going to be their rebuttal. And you can create a rebuttal for their attack towards you by saying, well, no, that's actually not true. And here's example X, Y, and Z to go ahead and prove that. So make sure you look at how another person would attack your arguments and then you find a way of rebutting those attacks. Number 4 is you need to construct your argument. The first and most important thing you need to do when you are constructing your argument, okay, is be able to define the terms. Know what everything means, define them so that everyone is on the same page as you, the judge, and the rest of your team are all on the same page, arguing the exact same words, so this does not become a matter of semantics. Again, look back at the possible attacks that you wrote and then write your argument anticipating those attacks. So if they found a way of already kind of attacking you right off the bat, it was easy for you to write an attack against that. You probably don't want to put that in your piece. It's probably going to be harder to write, but it's probably not going to be a very strong argument. So make sure you anticipate possible attacks to your argument and you automatically write your argument around that. Use historical evidence to support your position. If you are making a claim that this form of government works, it is important that you show an example from history of how this works. It's going to strengthen your argument. It's also going to help you understand the topic better and give you more information when it comes to explaining what's going on. And finally, you need to cite your sources. It gives your argument much more credibility and it makes you have a stronger argument. So be sure to cite your sources. Step number 5, you need to do a table read with your group. We simply read through the argument with one another. This is not an individual project. This is something you're working on with other people. So you need to know who reads and when they read. Time yourself as you're doing this because you have that 4-minute requirement. After 4 minutes, you are done, even if you're not in the middle or not quite done reading your argument. So you need to make sure that your entire statement is done within 4 minutes answering that question, that you know who is reading and when they're reading, so everyone gets a chance to read through this and participate in that. If it goes over that 4 minutes, you need to go ahead and cut it, okay? Shorten it down, find what you don't need in there so you make that 4-minute deadline. Again, it's super important that you do not go over those 4 minutes. Number 6 is ensuring understanding. Make sure that everyone in your group understands the argument at hand, because everyone is going to have to defend this. If they don't, you need to teach them, work with one another so that you are all on the same page. After that, practice reading it again, go over it again and again and again, ensuring that everyone understands the arguments that you're making, everyone understands what you are saying. Number 7 is create a list of possible cross-examination questions. So it's important to realize as you go through this, the first step is your 4-minute opening, your 4-minute kind of case getting outlined right there. And then you're going to have to flip everything over and just discuss with this, with the judge, with the teacher, anyone in the room. You have to think of possible questions that they might ask. So based off of the case you wrote, what are they going to possibly ask you about your case in order to try to hurt your case? So it's important to understand, how can you answer that without hurting the arguments you already made? Is there additional evidence that you have that will support your case? If so, be able to bring it up at this time period, and quiz each other in your group, making sure that everyone in the group is on the same page and they're ready for these possible questions. Don't just wing it and go in here. It's going to be very challenging if you do that. Make sure you quiz one another and understand those questions. Finally, step number 8 is simply relax, okay? When it comes time for the hearing, smile, breathe, relax. You got this. You've been prepared. You know who everything is going to happen. If you've gone through these steps and you're finally on step number 8 and you went through them all carefully and concisely, you're going to be good. Don't worry about it, and best of luck.